What is going on, everybody? Hopefully you guys are doing well out there. Back for another reaction video to Card Chat's questions. You know the drill. We don't respond on Twitter because they pay us $0.00. We'll take it to YouTube and make us a couple of bucks. The question of the day is, do you feel the hobby is in a better or worse place than it was a year ago? Let's get to our first reaction. This one comes from Dr. Sports Antagonist. He says that the hobby is way worse. Not to be negative, it's the truth. He tells you it's the truth, but provides no facts supporting that truth. Anyone who suggests otherwise just isn't paying attention, according to him. So if you don't believe his facts, which he backs up with no evidence, you are stupid and you are not paying attention. This is a microcosm of what's happening here in the United States. But I digress. Let's get to the point of the hobby being way worse than a year ago. Guys, I recall maybe a year or two ago, Gary Vee driving around in a chauffeured SUV talking up his book.
Sports card's different. It's not about the $1 million that I'll make in flipping cards in the next 3 years, and I will. It's about the tens of thousands of kids that I'm going to impact.
Saying he was going to make all of this money, but he was here to help you and help and feed the children of the world out there. I recall Jeff Wilson getting on and saying he had some kind of algorithm, some kind of computer code that he had typed up and it spit out.
I think that Will Greer right now is about 4 times better of an investment than Kyler Murray.
Trust me, folks. Things have been way worse than they are today. You're able to go to Target and find a blaster. You're able to send to PSA for something other than your right arm and your firstborn children. There are card shows every single weekend across this country where you can go and look at cards and fondle cards and maybe fondle some of your other fellow collectors that are there fondling pictures of men and cards along with everybody else. Card prices as a whole have started to decline in price. And so if you are on a limited budget, you might be able to afford more cards today than a year or two ago. I tell you what, there's a lot of things in this hobby that have gotten a lot worse. And a lot of these things have quite frankly have stayed the same, but there are some things that have gotten a lot better. And if you don't believe that, you probably aren't paying attention yourself. He goes on to say that it's going to get even worse with stagflation. Guys, I don't understand these videos that I'm seeing relating stagflation, recession, all of this stuff, this macroeconomic stuff to the sports card hobby. Since when does stagflation or recession doesn't impact every corner of walking life? It is part of the deal. And look, every industry, every hobby has to relate to it. I tell you what, there are studies that show that during recessions, people actually take comfort in things like their hobby. Maybe they can't go to Walmart or Target every single weekend and buy a blaster, but maybe they only do it once a month, but that once a month, they very much enjoy that privilege, and sports cards can still be enjoyable, not necessarily maybe in the excess that many people practiced over the last year or two. He goes on to say that the much needed market overcorrection won't take place until 2025 and 26. Hold the phone, guys. Anybody that thinks they can make economic predictions 2 or 3 years into the future is smoking all kinds of crazy stuff that they sell that is illegal for everybody out here in California. You've got PhD economists working for the Federal Reserve that can't even look a quarter or two down the road. You think some guy on Twitter is all of a sudden going to make economic calls 2 or 3 years down in the future? Come on, guys. Come on. This is ridiculous. He says this economic climate is bad. Look, the economic climate is bad. Why does that have to trickle down into somebody's enjoyment of the sports trading card hobby? Guys, these are pictures of men. It's not like corn or wheat or copper or lithium. Guys, this is pictures of men. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be enjoyable. If you can't afford as many as you did when the government was sending you a stimulus check every month, well, look, that sounds like a first world problem to me. This hobby is going to do fine through the recession. Will we see a downturn? Of course we will. But if somehow stagflation or the fact we'll have an economic recession 3 years from now, all of a sudden, if this is impacting your enjoyment in the hobby, well, you probably need a new hobby. Let's kick it to response number 2. This one is even a little bit more of a head scratcher. We got Ryan Cracknell, who I think works for Beckett. I think he's worked for other publications in the past. And these type of answers just blow my mind and make me wonder, why are some of these people still working in this industry? His first sentences said is that the hobby is in a better place this time than it was a year ago, in the sense that the mania seems to be subsiding. Wait a second. The mania is subsiding means that this is good for the hobby? That would be like a rock band saying, man, guys, I can't wait till the mania around our rock band slows down and those groupies go away and the big arena tours go away and we go back to playing in our garage and when nobody cares about us. Nobody would ever say that. That would be like the NFL saying, guys, you know, the mania around this big game that we play every year, we used to play it in January, now we play it in February. It's called the Super Bowl. You might have heard of it. Well, we're going to pull back on the little bit of the mania around that event. These guys are absolutely idiots. These guys that work for Beckett, these guys that work for inside the industry, the mania has been the best thing that's ever happened to cards. It creates excitement. It brings new people in. It creates a higher floor and in some cases a higher ceiling where values can go. Mania gets more people involved. It gets more kids involved. It gets more families involved. It gets more shady people involved too. And that's why we're here to weed those people out, because as the mania subsides, guess what, folks? The more shady the things will become here in the hobby. He goes on to say that it's worse in regards to the massive delays across every sport. It's mid-June and there's still 2021 baseball and 2021 hockey releases to come. No 2021-22 Prism. This would be a very Beckett thing to say. First of all, these people complain when there's overproduction and there's too many products and there's 8 products released in a week and 3 baseball and 2 football and a basketball and a hockey, and it's too much. It's too much. But now that it slows down a little bit due to supply chain and other issues, well, all of a sudden now that causes confusion. Guys, take it from me. I've been collecting for a very long time. These type of delays and kind of odd season, mid-season, after-season releases, this has happened across the entire history of the hobby. And guess what? In 5 to 10 years, the only people that remember, the only people that care are the people like this. The vast majority of collectors just want to look, hey, that's a pretty cool card. They don't care when it was actually released. Moving on to our next response, LJ Clubhouse. Boy, everybody says I'm negative. Maybe you guys need to log into your old Twitter account. Everybody's saying that the hobby is worse this year in relation where it was last year. Cost of cards, both retail and secondary market, are rising rapidly. Look, everything's rising in price, guys. Okay, he says he found himself not getting as many cards because my fuel and my food bills have risen so much. Guys, if your cards are going up in value, if the cost of them are going up in value, maybe you should sell some. Back in January, I had a 2020 Mercedes-Benz. I had absolutely no interest in trading in. I was going to keep that car till the end of the lease, but guess what? Old Mercedes-Benz called up the daddy and said, we'll offer you $9,000. Yeah, $9,000 more than I owed on the car.
It's exciting, it's exciting, it's exciting.
And I said, when are you going to come and pick it up? Guys, these are pictures of men. Cars are hunks of metal and steel. So are watches. Folks, if they go up in value and you're having trouble paying for your food and your fuel, guys, have an eBay account. Check out my cards, alt, anything. I don't care. Sell your freaking cards. Sell your assets that have gone up in price. Guess what, folks? In a year or two, you're going to be able to buy them for the same price or lower because everybody's going to be broke. Now, moving on to David. He's also negative. He says that it's worse. There's a lot of uncertainty with the recession. Again, I don't understand. I saw like 5 videos in my suggested feed here on YouTube talking about, oh, the sports cards in the recession, guys. Well, we got the key interest rate is done this, and Jerome Powell's not going to pull back until it. Guys, none of that has anything to do with trading cards and sports cards. These are pictures of men. Quite frankly, this is like having a Louis Vuitton purse. This is like having a Rolex watch. This is like having a $90,000 car. This is a luxury. In recession, everybody is making tough choices, pulling back on things. Maybe instead of having 3,200 count boxes in every corner of your house, when the pumpers like Jeff Wilson were on here.
Mitchell Robinson's got a really good projection according to the 538 Carmelo data.
Just telling you to buy any player, any sport, any card, any population. They were just telling you to buy it all. David goes on to say, and folks thinks there will be this huge bottom following out moment, but it will be very gradually declining in the months to come. I welcome it personally. Been collecting cards since I was 3 years old. I actually agree with that last statement. Guys, you look at the S&P 500 chart, and since January, it's just been making lower highs and just selling off in a kind of an orderly fashion. Now, Budget Card says it's worse. The ridiculously inflated prices will likely never go back down. Listen to this next segment. When the market fully cools off, and the flippers disappear. So he said the inflated prices in the trading card market will likely never go down. And then he put a comma, and then he says, when the market fully cools off. Some of you guys wonder why you don't see me at card events. Folks, you hang around with 4 people that don't make sense like this, and you'll be the 5th. Now, finally, we'll finish things off with Nick, and he says things are worse this time of the year as the delta between the price of the product, the unopened product that you're getting from the breaker, or maybe a blowout or directly from the manufacturer. He's saying the price of that product and the value in return is starting to widen, and I couldn't disagree more. Folks, it's just reverting back to where it was before all of you newbies got back into the hobby. Folks, it's always been a losing man's game to open unopened product. Back in the day, the products used to be $80 or $90, and when you opened up, you might have got $5 or $6 in product. Now the product is $300, $400, $500, $600, and maybe you're getting $30, $40, $50 in value when you open the box. Folks, we are just reverting back to the mean when it comes to unopened product and single card prices. Single card prices elevated too fast, too quickly, because you had the people here on YouTube.
Jaren Jackson's card prices are a little bit higher than some of the other guys, and that's why he's not quite as good of a value, in my opinion, than Mitchell Robinson or Landry Shamet.
And everybody else sitting at home collecting stimulus checks, getting advice.
His cards will shoot up in price. Therefore, I think this is a pretty reasonable time to buy Michael Porter Jr. cards.
From people who had not been in this hobby for a very, very long time. Now, do I feel the hobby is in a better place or worse place than it was a year ago? I actually think it's in a better place. We don't have people beating each other up outside of Targets and Walmarts trying to get blaster boxes. Recessions and pullback in spending and demand will likely expose the businesses inside this hobby that weren't healthy, like a Mark's Cards. Frauds and cheats and fakers like Platinum Breaks, like Blez, like Leighton Sports Cards. All those people will be exposed during this time as well. And I can imagine over the next couple of months, if these people are correct and we're in for a deep, dark recession here in the United States from an economic perspective, I can imagine the scams and the shadiness and all those types of things will continue to only get worse. And one thing is for sure, we'll be here to cover it for you here on Sports Card Radio. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful day out there. We'll be back again soon with more. Good luck with your collections.